With the third entry in the Splatoon series, a series about inking, squidding and kidding, also known as a shooter, finally out, it's time to compare the hero modes. I mean, why focus on the main mode, when the story modes are a fresh way for beginners to start their Splatoon journey and the story is actually interesting, at least in most cases. I could have waited a little longer with this video for the Splatoon 3 DLC to release, which definitely will be another campaign, but who knows when it's about to release. Probably before Splatoon 3 gets all of the missing weapons and maps. I mean, look at this weapon selection, compare this with the other two games. Nintendo. Why? Come on, please Nintendo, just add the Murray Towers as a map. They were such a fun stage in the first and second game. They are such a milestone for the series, because they were the first stage and the only one till today to appear outside of Splatoon, namely in Smash. Anyways, enough complaining, let's start the video about the offline campaigns. Oh, right. Quick spoiler warning, if you don't want to be spoiled for the Splatoon 3 campaign, be sure to skip the last part of each chapter. Let's start with the obvious, the setting, and the basics. In the middle of Splatoon 1's tutorial, you may have noticed the big trashed UFO near Inkopolis. First, you think, that's just for tutorial's sake, but soon you'll know more. Exactly 2 minutes later, when the Squid Sisters tell you that the Great Zapfish has vanished. Well, there's nothing you can do about that, so just go battling others of your kind, I guess. You could also go after that weirdo staring at you if you so desire. Turns out that this weirdo is actually the captain of some Squid Peaks platoon, Captain Cuttlefish, and the Octarians are behind the disappearing of the Zapfish. Now that you have entered Octo Valley, you're forced to join the Squid Peaks platoon as Agent 3, and it's your job to find the Zapfish. Lucky you! You have to search for kettles, which contain levels, and after a certain numbers of levels beat, you have to fight the boss of the area with your hero gear, consisting of hero splatter shot and splat bombs. Pretty basic. Over time, the main antagonist is revealed, new agents join you, just to talk of course, and Cuttlefish gets captured. All of this is shown through transmissions after each boss. Splatoon 2's hero mode went the same direction, but they add and also cut some things down the road. No mentions of anything story related in the tutorial, but then as soon as you set one foot on the plaza, Pearl and Marina go live, report the unfortunate missing of the Great Zapfish, but again, like the first time, you could go right into battling against your own kind, or follow the shy lady with the parasol down the sewers. You already know the choice we're making for this video, so... Right as you start regretting your simpish choice, you get forced to join the new Squid Peaks platoon as Agent 4. It turns out the lady is actually Mary from the Squid Sisters, and now you gotta do the exact same thing as in the first game. Find kettle, beat level, beat boss, progress. To find the Great Zapfish on your way through the Octo Canyon. In addition to that, you also have to look for Callie, who's strangely missing as well. While progressing in the story, the main villain once again reveals himself more and more, and you unlock multiple weapons to beat more stages with. These information come to you in the form of transmissions, so you got more than one weapon for the entirety of the campaign, which was criticized in the first game. Now to the first and only DLC campaign, at least till today. Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. Pearl has noticed a lot of strange people with even stranger haircuts, so now you gotta sneak into a back alley to listen what's happening underground. Fade out, everything to black. Music starts playing. Some sort of memory pops up. Silence. Old man right above you, jump scare! He wants to fight you, but you're unarmed, and humming the legendary calamari incantation. So you're officially a friend of Captain Cuttlefish, the old man. It looks like you lost your memory after the battle with Agent 3. So yeah, where even are you? Looks like an abandoned station. As you search for an exit, you find a weapon and search for a key in a sort of chamber without... Gotta stop this whole roleplay thing. There's a room that contains many objects from the second campaign. Through clever usage of those objects, you grab yourself a key and move on to some sort of subway station? Answer the mysterious phone, get your CQ card and CQ80 and enter the deep sea metro. From now on, you're Agent 8 of the Squidbeak Splatoon, if you want to or not. Let's go, Octarian! Beat those Octarians! Inside the metro, the conductor CQ Cumber tells you about the 4 thanks that shall be collected to enter the Promised Land. To get those, you must pass multiple tests at different stations, where each time a different objective is given, and therefore different gear is provided. So pay your fee and get going. After your first test, Pearl and Marina join your group, supporting you with their talk during tests and a plan to get to the surface. And finally, the Splatoon 3 campaign. After walking past that upside down Eiffel Tower, you're now in Splatsville, the center of the famous Splatlands. The Anarchy podcast trial greets you by telling that the Zapfish disappeared a 3rd time. Now, this is the part where I tell you about the battling against your own kind again. But I think doing the same joke 3 times in a row is kinda boring, so let's just move on. Let's enter yet another sewer and arrive in the crater. Cuttlefish awaits you and drags you into the hero gear of former Agent 3, who's now the captain of the new Squidbeak Splatoon, meaning you are the new Agent 3. Congratulations! Cuttlefish insists that the Octarians stole the Zapfish a 3rd time. And now, you and your little buddy Smallfry, who I haven't mentioned yet, sorry little buddy, have to clear out levels in the crater. Achieving this is quite simple. Find kettles, beat level, and after a certain amount, you have enough fish eggs to progress. As simple as the other hero modes. Strange fuzz use is all around the place, and even the Octarians are covered in it. Luckily, Smallfry can eat it and therefore erase it through the power of fish eggs, which you get as a reward for beating a level. At the bottom of the crater, a boss awaits, and after defeating it, the whole floor collapses, and you lose Cuttlefish during the fall. You wake up in a strange, white world. 30 minutes in and you've gone through more than every agent combined, except maybe Agent 8. Strangely, the new Squidbeak Splatoon is also down in Alterna, the mysterious world underneath the crater. After a quick dialogue about the sights and the huge rocket in the middle, you have to once again pass tests to collect fish eggs, which are used to move to different sides, which results in searching for cuttlefish. Each test will once again provide different gear and a different objective. After each boss, there are once again transmissions revealing the final boss and the state of cuttlefish. Alright, that should be about it, so let's talk about a few levels in each game to see how individual and creative the campaigns are. Splatoon 1 features 2 kinds of levels that repeat in every world, starting in World 2. First, we got the famous Octoling levels. Each Octoling level takes place in an online multiplayer map, for example, the skate park. Soon after you arrive there, Octolings approach. They're like Inklings, therefore they can shoot with their ink, hide inside it, and throw bombs. Your objective is not to kill everyone, but to rush to the opposite side of the map and grab the zapfish. On the way there, Octolings will ambush you and try to stop you. But with precise movement and intuition, this shouldn't be a problem at all. Speaking of not being a problem, it's way too easy to cheese these levels. On the Kelp Dome map, for example, you can literally go up the stairs and skip the entire level. This is why these levels are pretty lame. Secondly, we got the UFO levels. In these, an Octostriker will constantly shoot ink strikes at you. You have to get to him and defeat him while avoiding the ink strikes. On your way there, tons of Octarians are waiting for you to fall in their traps. Once you're on the UFO, a mini-boss starts, where the Octostriker tries to flee and you have to catch him. These levels also take place in multiplayer maps or the tutorial map. For the other levels, there's always the same approach. Reach the end of an obstacle course and move on. At least each level has one unique gimmick which it will focus on. For example, a level focusing on invisible ink. In it, there's a huge wall that you can't see and you have to find an opening using your own ink. In another level, there are lots of spinning parts and grates that you have to avoid or swim through using your squid abilities. In every level, a sunken scroll is hidden. After finding it, it will be added into your collection, and you can read what it contains. Mostly, some interesting background information about the characters. Splatoon 2 stays true to repeating levels, but this time there's only one kind of level that repeats in each world. Once again, the Octoling levels. But, believe it or not, this game is out for 5 years. They have been changed! Instead of just walking through a stage, you now have to collect 8 mini zapfishes. It's kinda like the 8 red coins in Mario 64. If you collect 8 of them, you're granted a star. Luckily, there's no zapfish you get by collecting 100 coins. Anyways, back to Splatoon. The 8 mini zapfishes are spread across the whole multiplayer map, which you are searching on. Octolings await you at every corner, and this time they all got different weapons, so some of them are easier to take out than others. In addition to that, are other conditions like Octosnipers or multiple hazards like Toxic Mist or Ink Walls. Wait a minute, isn't that the funny stage that isn't in Splatoon 3 yet? I can't remember the name. Was it Moray Towers? They even got an own level in Splatoon 2. Why aren't they in Splatoon 3 from the beginning? Let's forget about that. Back to the Octoling levels. With these changes, they're somewhat enjoyable, and I really like playing them because it's a great way to farm fish eggs. The structure of other levels has not been changed though. Every level once again is just another obstacle course focusing on one element, regardless if the object is new to Splatoon or not. The levels are longer though, and after you cleared World 1, Sheldon joins your side and provides you with special weapons, but only if you collect data for him. Some stages now have a special Sheldon request, which you gotta fulfill. Therefore, you cannot play your weapon of choice sometimes, although you unlock weapons like that. Now, let's talk about some of these levels. There's one level that I might enjoy, focusing on bounce pads. On these pads, not only you, but also the enemies just bounce around. Just watch out for those child-friendly walls that will push you into your doom. In one part of the level, you will jump down from the top of a huge pillar, collecting fish eggs on the way down. Awesome! There are also some levels focusing on the new ride rails. In those ones, you go around a tower in circles, splatting enemies on the way up, or just hop from one rail to another with an epic side flip. As a last example, we have a level with 3 paths, each showing an ability of the blaster. In one of them, you have to grapple on hooks using the blast radius. In another one, you have to kill enemies with the strong shots, and in the other one, you have to carefully move on narrow pathways. After you beat all of these paths, you spawn right on top of a giant industrial squeegee to reach the goal or a private island full of flooders. This level clearly shows the disadvantage of multiple weapons, at least in this case. The developers were lazy, so not every level works with every weapon. In this one, you either have to time a precise shot multiple times in a row or throw multiple bombs perfectly just because the splatling, which is not the weapon you normally have to do the level with, does not work well for this level. Same situation, for example, if you play a sniper level without a sniper. Of course, there are some situations where your brain needs to work and you can find another solution, but even with this small possibility, it is way more extravagantly than beating a level normally. Like the campaign before, you can find sunken scrolls in every level, as well as one in every sector. And in addition to that, you can find selenium to upgrade your weapons with. One per level and one per sector, like the sunken scrolls. Splatoon 2 Octo expansion also features some similar stages throughout the game, except no, it doesn't! Octo expansion has 80 different tests with about 80 different objectives. Granted, you have to do the same objective once or twice, but you always have to approach differently. Let us talk about some innovative tests, like one of the first tests in the whole expansion, where you have to reach the goal in a baller. You know, that special, that only lasts for a limited time? Well, not here. This way, you can experience how the baller reacts to objects outside the battle, and it's a lot of fun just bouncing around. Moving on, we have the 8-ball missions, the ones everybody loves from the bottom of their heart. Seriously, the first few really sucked. You have to guide such a ball through the level, avoiding gaps and enemies. But later in the expansion, there are a few levels where you must find the ball or use it against enemies. This test, for example, is all about bouncing balls. Flipping 8 balls to erase enemies and clear way to the goal. Another simple yet innovative test is the one where you get nothing except your bare feet and have to dodge enemy fire for half a minute. Very stressful and just not fun! Less stressful, more frightening, are the tests where you're given limited ink and have to make your way through many obstacles you normally barely see as obstacles, like a wall. This way, even activating the goal can be your unfortunate demise. Even level elements from the second hero mode get attention. For instance, there are several right rail levels, where you pop targets to activate the next level segment. Every once in a while, you find yourself going up in huge circles, carefully hitting a switch to avoid crashing into these big pistons, or jumping between multiple rails to show off. Some tests only give you a certain sub-weapon, and you have to face everyday problems in a completely new way, like shooting targets or even fighting an octoling. Popular online game modes, like Rainmaker or Tower Control, have also been added as a test. So go out there and carry your mass murder machine, the Rainmaker, to the goal like you do it in online battles, right? Right? And of course we got Girl Power Station. You know, the one where you only get a bomb and have to defeat an awful lot of octolings while defending an energy core? Yeah, simple. I mean, you get tons of different weapons, so I don't see a problem there. Not at all. Easiest part, hands down, the last 30 seconds, when every octoling starts to pull out their special weapon and the energy core's health drops down like nothing. Yeah. Fun test. As a final example, we got the test where you have to defeat a specific number of enemies. Look at this one. You're trapped in a cage and need to hit 10 octosnipers to get out there. Nothing special, but fun nonetheless. Octo Expansion features no collectibles in the actual tests. By passing a test, you get a mem cake. That's just a sort of memory, and if you pass all the tests on a specific line, you get gear for online play. In Splatoon 3, most levels follow the Octo Expansion path, but Nintendo managed to include some more classical levels without them dragging on or ruining the experience. What's ridiculous about the first levels in the creator is the fact that they try to trick the player into thinking, wow, yet another creative campaign. Why doesn't Nintendo do more Octo Expansion stuff? The first levels are all quite simple. Search object, fight Octarian, grab Zapfish, like the first two campaigns. We have to talk about music here. Spoiler alert, for my own video, this is a segment later in the video, but the music in the creator is fantastic. The level and the level beaten theme are kind of callback for the first two games, but made worse on purpose, at least that's my understanding. It's like Nintendo did a little trolling. Back to the levels. The first level in Altona features all kinds of level elements to play around with. It's like a playground to hype you up for what's coming. So, for a final time, let us talk about innovative tests in Splatoon 3. Starting off with a very simple level that takes about 5 seconds. See? As easy as that. Just hit that one shot and you're golden. Another really fun kind of tests added are the Zipcaster ones. You become literal Spider-Man and swing around the Octarian neighborhood. It feels amazing. Especially because while sticking to a wall or the floor, you unleash a powerful splat, like a splat bomb. In one of the Zipcaster levels, you climb up the tallest pillar of all, to look down at your opponents. This quick movement definitely can cause motion sickness, but the risk is worth taking. Your buddy Small Fry also gets his time to shine, in special tests developed for him. Throw him onto a switch and suddenly it's like a full automatic factory, just rush through and get the goal. Also, watch this satisfying clip. Thanks, Small Fry. Of course, the Zipcaster isn't the only special that gets some love. The Crab Tank gets his own level. Hell yeah! In this level, you fight against a huge, evil, mega robot using multiple fire options from the Crab Tank. After taking the bad guy out halfly, you crawl up his body and go for the head. The limited ink tests return as well. This time, in some cases, it's even possible to beat those without using ink at all. But in one instance, you have to make use of precise aim with your blaster. Some enemies have been changed as well, for example Octo Zeppelins. Now they have platforms to their side which you can ride. This is an interesting change and it's put to good use in this level. And finally, we have a level focusing on angle shots. On their own, these new sub-weapons are useless, barely dealing any damage, just revealing opponents. But in this level, their somewhat extended hitbox is shown perfectly. You have to use the angle shots at the right moment to solve creative puzzles and even start a chain reaction. This should be in a satisfying compilation. Honestly, why isn't it already? Collectibles once again cannot be found in the tests itself, rather in the hub world. Speaking of which, let's focus on the hub in every Splatoon campaign for a second. Splatoon 1's hub is one large connected world. You start in World 1 and through level elements like ink rails, you can visit other worlds up to World 5 without any loading time at all. The spots in which the kettles are getting way more complicated to find, so you may find yourself dying over and over again while trying to reach one. Also, neat little detail, you can see the Inkopolis Plaza from the highest point in Octo Valley, meaning that it's not that far away. The hub in Splatoon 2 is also separated in 5 worlds or sectors, as they are called here, but this time you have to go through a loading zone to travel. They're kind of connected in the way that you can see every one of them from afar and you're getting deeper with every sector, but that's not as cool as a connected hub. Some things have been added though. For example, you can find Sedinium and sunken scrolls on the hub, mostly in special flying balloons that will force you to run across the whole sector, popping them on the way. Also, the kettles in later sectors are way better secured, so you have to really sweat, even in the hub world. The only hub Splatoon 2 Octo expansion has is the station and the inside of the deep sea metro. There's not much you can explore there. Splatoon 3's Overworld, on the other hand, is a completely different story. It is kinda connected without loading zones. Except if you fast travel to a level, of course. But moving without fast travel, you have to go through a tube for moving from side to side. This rewards you with a small monologue from the Streetbeak Splatoon. At first, the whole world, or site, is covered in fuzzy ooze that you have to get rid of. At least some of it. You need a certain amount of fish eggs to clear out the tube and then move on. If you want to explore the whole site though, you can erase the rest of the fuzzy ooze to reveal secrets like more fish eggs, table turf cards, sunken scrolls, Sardinium, music discs that do not add anything in your non-existing music collection, Nintendo, but rather change the music of the environment and decoration for your locker. The balloons have also returned and will force you to first get rid of all that yucky goo and then chase them afterwards, rewarding you with a sunken scroll. At the end of each world, at least in the first 2 campaigns, there's a boss rounding it off. In Octo Expansion, their tests pop up rather random, and in Splatoon 3, only the tutorial and every second world contains a boss. Bosses are stronger than the usual foes and take about 3 hits at the weak points. But that should be known, hopefully. In the Splatoon series, you often have to splat a specific part of the boss, or survive in order for the weak point to appear. Do this 3 times and you're done. Let's talk about the bosses in release order, starting once again with the Splatoon 1 bosses. All of these will give you a sunken scroll with the blueprint for a new weapon for online multiplayer. We got 4 normal bosses and the final boss. First is Octostorm. This is just a giant cube with small legs that tries to squish you under his face. Just dodge to the side and climb up his side to hit the tentacle. Each time, the surge gets harder. The second boss is Octonozzle, a dog-like machine with deadly sneezes. Avoid those and hit his weak body parts, then jump on top and hit the tentacle. In the second and third phase, more body parts appear. Third boss is Octo Whirl. Just let him roll into your ink instead of your body and you're golden. In the next phases, the inkable floor will shrink. And the fourth boss, Octo Maw, a shark with sharp teeth. Let him attack you and destroy his teeth. Once the opening is big enough, throw a bomb in his mouth. In the second and third phase, his teeth will be stronger. And now, to the historical final boss, DJ Octavio. He uses the power of the Great Zapfish and kidnaps Captain Cuttlefish. Before we talk about the fight, we gotta talk about something ridiculous. During your first playthrough, all of the text bubbles are really serious, wishing you luck and motivating you, while for the second time, nobody actually cares about the fight at all, which is hilarious, to say the least. Anyways, now on to the fight. That is very creative. DJ Octavio will throw his robot hands at you, and you have to reflect them using your ink. After a hit, Octavio gets knocked back, and you can move forward. After a few hits, he will throw a huge missile that you have to reflect 3 times to deal 1 damage, and start the next phase. Each phase, the obstacles are getting tougher to avoid and Octavio pulls more and more aces up his sleeve, like a killer whale or Octo Troops. In the last phase, the heavenly melody, Calamari Incantation, starts playing, and from this point on, the fight is won. More on that in a few chapters. In Splatoon 2, there is the exact same structure. 4 bosses and the final boss. Who could this be? If the Octarian stole the Zapfish again? Ooh, I wonder. First things first, I'ma start with the boss in World 1. Octo Oven. An oven that sticks out his bread to tackle you away. Awesome. Wait 3 rotations and then climb on top to get the tentacle. Watch out for the glazing machine, painting the whole stage, and the armored red that makes the surge harder. Second things second, don't you tell me the bosses are stupid. Next up is Octo's Samurai. The first boss, you have to fight with a different weapon, namely the roller. The Samurai also wields a giant-ass roller, trying to splat you with horizontal, vertical and spin attacks. Between phases, he chases you on a motorcycle, hit him enough times and then destroy the tentacle in the respawn machine. Third things third, send a message to the devs up above. You could have used that spot for another new boss, but what you did to Octostorm was totally fine too. This time, you have to defeat Neo Octostorm with the Splat Dualies. The first phase is identical to Splatoon 1, but in the next phase he gets an uninkable code, a Splatling, and soon after 2 more phases to stomp you. Untie the lace with your ink and climb back up to the tentacle. Last normal boss, last, by the grace of the squids and the kids. Why does this one require the charger, or else it's almost impossible and really tedious to beat? Cause this time, you have to kill his troops, one at a time, from different locations. Octo Shower is a bath accessory carried by Octocopters. You have to splat the Octocopters to reveal the tentacle. Use your surroundings to your advantage and this one's in the bank. Easy, but tedious. Now, to the awaited final boss, Octavio, once again, but this time with a brainwashed Callie. Who could have seen that coming? The fight is exactly like the one from the first game, but the knockback element has been completely removed. So you're just firing his fist back until you can damage him. At least the text bubbles are once again not serious during the second time you beat him. After the second phase, Mary snipes the brainwash glasses away, and after the third phase, Callie finally remembers and that heavenly melody, but spiced up, starts playing. On to the somewhat interesting part, you get a Rainmaker and have to go on a right rail, dodging punches and firing them back at Octavio. Once he's out, slam the Rainmaker in his stomach and watch him explode. Splatoon 2 Octo expansion just reuses the bosses from the second campaign but spices things up a little. The Octo Oven is now full of enemies with long-range shots like Octo Snipers. The Octo Samurai has to be defeated by the Baller, and almost every attack knocks you into the abyss. Octostorm Redux has way more weak points to shoot at, and uses more specials like the Bubble Blower, and Octo Shower has to be fought with the Inkjet. Then there's the final boss, a whole sequence of events. You enter the created way to the Promised Land in the form of a blender. Wow! What could go wrong? As expected, the blender activates and Agent 3 has to come for the rescue. Then, it's a matter of getting to the surface. In the Octo expansion finale, there are 7 sequences Agent 8 has to deal with before reaching the surface. First, you need to stealth in between Octo troops, because you have no weapons. This is real terrifying and nerve-wracking. Next, you have to find a weapon and a sub-weapon, which luckily are around, so just do your thing and get those. Thirdly, there's a kind of factory with floating octotubes sealed in packages. You have to paint the floating thingies and move through. In the fourth sequence, you have to surpass the security system by avoiding deadly lasers. In the fifth phase is the phase in which you steal the energy core by releasing all 8 logs. Then, in the 6th phase, you guide and protect the core to the plug, while avoiding to damage it through the attacking Octarians. Finally, the 7th phase is just a ride with a big elevator to the surface. Major plot twist, Agent 3 has been hijacked by the telephone, and now you have to fight him. The fight is kinda hard for a required story boss, but nothing too bad. He uses some of the Splatoon 2 specials, and if you manage to avoid his direct fire, that's about it. With Agent 3 out of the way, you can finally arrive at the surface and get picked up by Pearl and Marina. Right as you thought you were saved, a big human statue pops out of the ocean, with a telephone in it, and wants to destroy the world and start anew. Now, you have to stop it in a turf war-like fight. Marina will drop hyper bombs and you have to manually detonate them with your ink. You have 3 minutes and a real banger soundtrack. Go save the world! Splatoon 3 starts things off very differently. After the tutorial levels, Octavio appears and accuses Cuttlefish for stealing his entire army, so you fight him and his mech. Once again you have to reflect the hands Octavio is shooting at you. If you do this often enough, Octavio will fall out of his mech and you can hit him. In the 2nd and 3rd phase, he pulls out an ink rag that you have to jam using small fry. Next up are the deep cut bosses. Huh? Oh, I forgot to introduce that. This time, the deep cut crew are the bad guys. Duh! They all have kind of special voice lines while fighting them a second time. Starting off with Fry and her eels. She balances on a cube and sends her eels to attack you. Just reflect them and climb up the cube. That's about it. The only real danger is the 3rd phase with the Great Moray transformation. But if you stay on your guard, this shouldn't be a problem at all. Moving on with Shiver and Awesome Mega! This boss is pretty simple. You just have to avoid the ink lasers and shoot Awesome Mega! If you got the opportunity, you can throw a bomb down his throat and deal extra damage. And finally, Big Man himself as a huge man-pound. He escaped Mario's sunshine, so just splat him till you find the real one after he splits up. Watch out for his bombs and other missiles, though. And, to end the bosses once and for all, at least till the Splatoon 3 DLC is released, the final boss for this video! We got the final boss from Splatoon 3. Not building any hype, it's Mr. Grizz from Salmon Run! Big surprise! This one is quite similar to the Octo Expansion final boss. But first, you gotta get to the rocket. Luckily, the Squidbeak Splatoon has an idea. Once you arrive, Deep Cut will interrupt you for the last time to join your team. Now you have to beat 4 segments of the rocket to reach Cuttlefish. In the first one, your hero gear is removed, so you and Small Fry have to solve puzzles and ink bad guys without weapons. Luckily, you get your gear back at the end of the level. In the second sequence, you go through multiple waves of enemies using all kinds of different specials, while listening to Deep Cut's music. Then you ride 2 elevators down in the dark, to the ground, while enemies constantly ambush you and try to block your path. Outside the dark chamber, you search for a cool looking pipe with an ink rail that you don't have to use. Literally boss move. Literally, the next sequence forces you to move up again, but this time without an elevator. So you're going up in circles, watching your step, since everything is covered in fuzzy ooze and splatting enemies again. At the top, you can see the Great Zapfish, but you have more important things to do, so don't waste your time. The last sequence takes place inside the rocket, with the Zipcaster. You now have to collect all energy cores for the next floor to open, so use your Zipcaster wisely and don't touch that fuzzy ooze. At the top, you listen to a dramatic monologue from Mr. Grizz, and the screams of Cuttlefish. A few seconds after, you find him dead, and Mr. Grizz reveals himself. He then flies off to cover the whole world in fuzz-used from space. Through a dramatic plot, Cuttlefish comes back to life, and suddenly Deep Cut has a plan to save the world. The final boss, against Mr. Grizz, can be described as Salmon Run Light. Collect gold eggs, move on, collect more eggs, kill enemies, open the weak points, and damage him. Do that 3 times with rising difficulty, for example through Mr. Grizz rotating the whole rocket, and you successfully defeat... Oh. Well, it's a Splatoon boss, so... In the final phase, all you gotta do is suck in the fuzzballs on Mr. Grizz, while avoiding meteors and splatting enemies. Which can get tricky if you get cocky and ignore the enemies, but who would do that? Oh, and if you're wondering what that big flying eel is, don't worry, it's just Small Fry. We'll cover his temporarily new form in just a minute. And there you have it, Splatoon 3 beaten. After all that excitement, it's time to talk about something rather helpful. Upgrading your hero gear. The collected eggs in each level of Splatoon 1 help you upgrade your gear. This way you can increase your fire rate or unlock new bombs, which can be upgraded afterwards. In the second campaign, the fish eggs help you upgrading your hero gear, as well as the Sedinium. But this time, not only your new hero gear can be upgraded, but also the other weapons. Octo Expansion doesn't feature an upgrade system at all, because you have multiple weapons to choose from. And finally, Splatoon 3 has the biggest upgrading system yet. By inking turf or finding secrets or erasing fuzz use, you level up to get upgrade points. Combined with Sedinium, upgrade points unlock special abilities of the hero suit, not only bombs this time. After you defeated the final boss, is there any reason to play the campaign anymore? Well, in Splatoon 1, there's really not much you can do after finding all sunken scrolls and maxing out your hero gear, which will cost many fish eggs that are unnecessary to farm. Of course, you always have the ability to bully Octavio in a snow globe or watch the credits. Fantastic! After beating the final boss in Splatoon 2, finding all sunken scrolls and Sedinium, you can farm fish eggs to upgrade your weapons or sell them for tickets. You could also play through the entire story mode 8 more times to beat every level with every weapon. If you beat a level with every weapon, you get rewards from Sheldon. And if you beat every level with a specific weapon, Sheldon will offer you this hero weapon for multiplayer battles. But they're just skins. Octavio can once again be bullied in a snow globe, and you can also watch the credits again. On to Octo Expansion. Once you've beaten every level without skipping one, you can relive your memories to fight your inner Agent 3, a significantly more harder boss than the one in the story finale. After beating him, you unlock a special hairpin. You can also trade your currency for rewards at the station, experience the finale again, or just watch the credits. Another thing you could do is completing every test with every provided weapon, even though that doesn't give you anything. In addition to that, you could read the description of every memcake, or read the secret chat logs between Pearl, Marina, and Captain Cuttlefish. And finally, for the Splatoon 3 campaign, after you beat the final boss, every day a shell drone appears that can search Alterna for decoration, for 999 fish eggs a day. Also, after beating every level, a secret kettle appears that contains the super hard and long level after Altona. Beating this level rewards you with a badge and a title. Another thing you can do is search on the map for all the collectibles, and after you reveal every black space on the map, you get a mini-map for your locker. You also get sunken scrolls as stickers. In addition to the famous sunken scrolls, each time when you beat a level, these secret Alterna logs are updated. By reading them, you get to learn about the origins of the Inklings and Octolings. Oh! I almost forgot it. Of course, you can re-experience the finale or watch the credits. Isn't that crazy? Finally, for the last stop of today, for real this time, we have the music. I don't care about order or stuff like that, and I think we're all waiting for the same specific song. So let's talk about Calamari Incantation, the song first heard in Splatoon 1's final boss last phase. This song went crazy, and therefore became a symbol of the Splatoon campaigns. Since then, it showed up in every campaign, and more story is developed around it. In one of the sunken scrolls in Splatoon 2's campaign, you can read about an Octarian who's got his heart touched by the beat. Therefore, the song does not only sound fantastic, but also has the ability to free people from their vicious leader. Also in the second campaign, the spicy Calamari Incantation was released. The biggest impact Calamari Incantation made was an Octo expansion. The developed story around that song finally came to life, and now you're playing an Octarian touched by that heavenly melody with his or her goal to live a normal life together with the Inklings. Right as we thought that was as big as it could get, the third entry of the series released in the legendary Calamari Incantation remix hit us off guard. This song not only combines Octarians and Inklings, this time it combines the whole sea life to fight the mammalians. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about other music in the Splatoon series. As you've probably noticed by this point, the music in the game series is literally crazy. If you listen to it for the first time, it barely sounds like music at all, more like random noises put together. But over time you're starting to get used to this, and suddenly dozens of banger tracks open up to you. The first game definitely focuses on multiplayer, with the campaign only having about 5 tracks. The multiplayer songs are fantastic, but they're not the topic of this video. For the campaign songs, they're good enough for what they want to be. Chaotic. For example, the classic 8-legged Advance, which got remixed for the second and the third game, or the Cephalo Parade. One of the especially calming tracks of Splatoon 1 is the world map theme. Each world, the theme changes a bit, and after World 3, this could be an lo-fi compilation. The second campaign adds a lot more new tracks, some of them being really catchy, like Shooting Starfish or The Girl from Inkopolis, but most notably the new Squid Sisters songs during the final boss. Most songs from the first campaign return as well. Some of them even have been remixed. Then there is Octo Expansion. The expansion cuts out every known track and completely adds new ones for the dozens of tests, all of them fitting what they are used for. There are quick-paced tracks for slide levels like Above or Thirsty, or calming tracks for puzzle levels like Awake or Regret. Then there is something we cannot skip out on: the Octo expansion Finale. Throughout the different segments there are 4 tracks that you can hear, all of them coming from Off the Hook. Except one, of course. First, we got Nasty Majesty, the trailer theme and the theme for the first segments. Then for the last segments we got Shark Bites, and for the Agent 3 fight we got a remix of the main theme from the first game. And for the final boss we got Fly Octo Fly and an Ebb and Flow remix. And Splatoon 3 does the exact same thing as Octo Expansion, just removes all of the tracks, except the Creator theme of course, which is a reference to the first theme in the second and first campaign. Once again, for each test, there's a perfect fitting music. this time being even stranger. For some challenges that focus on moving around and beating a stage, we got the second Alterna theme, Funky. How can I forget the trailer music giving a perfect impression for the story mode, Alterna Mission 1 Action. And of course, this wouldn't be a Splatoon video without Alterna Mission 8 Bang Bang. But have you ever noticed something sus about this song? And for the finale, Deep Cut gives us 2 new songs to listen to. We gotta talk about the final boss quickly, because the remix of the Salmon Run theme is completely menacing. I'm not that big of a fan of the Salmon Run soundtrack, but as soon as I heard the kind of choir theming in this song, I knew Mr. Grizz and Nintendo weren't playing around. If you've never heard of those tracks, be sure to listen to them or just watch my video again and listen closely to the background music. I could go on and give my personal opinion to each one of the campaigns, but I think this video is long enough, so if you want to hate me for my opinions, be sure to let me know, and I might do a video about it. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTuber things, other stuff. See ya!